Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Sorry, I'm a minute late. I can play a list for this. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? But as always, this is very early for Sarah P. So I appreciate you, Sarah P. I didn't expect you to be here. But thanks to Sarah P. Welcome and thanks for joining everyone. Please hit that like button, subscribe to YouTube, and press that notification bell on the way in, please. And as always, even though no one's here, most people are members. Please, if you're on replay watching this, please consider being members so you get access to our Discord and also we get free access to all the membership only videos as well. So it's worth it. So I think it's $4.99 or £4.99, I think it is. So please consider it. It helps me out a bunch. Thank you very much. So Lou is in the house. I love Diane. Mansh. I don't know. I'm gonna butcher that. I listen to what they say and I'll call her that. Matthew's attorney. She's so. Well, Salvador said that just now on Twitter as well. She's his favorite. I think he said favorite female attorney ever. So he didn't say famous. Hold on, what did he say? Salvador said Diane Minash is probably the greatest female lawyer I've ever seen. So he doesn't give her credit for being the greatest lawyer, but greatest female lawyer, which still all's bearing. I don't know who she is, so I'm looking forward to seeing her. Hello, Jody. Welcome back, Jody. I hope you didn't have too much of late night sexting last night. So hello, Lou, my lovely Lou. Welcome. Lovely to see you here as always. Sarah P. Bang bang, Niners gang. Bang bang, Niners gang. Got this just for Sarah P and Josie, I did. Well, Sarah P actually. And then Josie jumped on and found out she's a Niners as well. Um, Hi, Sarah P. Staff. Update for Dance SP's 911 is done. Yes. Happy days. Happy days. Good. Yeah, it's all good. I mean, if they just want to keep it private, that's fine. But we'll still have you on. Whatever happens, you're coming on the channel anyway, Lou. So we just need to arrange a time for you to come on. Like it would obviously, if we are going to make that public, happy days, then we'll coincide after you've made it live on your channel. But otherwise, we'll have you on in a couple of weeks, wherever, discussing the case and discussing a little bit about your analysis, really. Of we don't have to play that video, but we can still have your analysis of the trial. Holy cow, I'm shattered. Oh, oh, okay, I got that. Okay, well, I'm sure we won't see him all day then. Yay, Lou, I can't wait. Bosa, BOSA, Bosa. This is a weird one, Sylvia. Morning, Sylvia, by the way. Done an FYI, a YouTuber had his 9-year-old niece on a live and got demonetized. I can no longer do lives. Check the rules for minors on live streams. Oh, I didn't know that. Because I see minors on all the time on videos, but actually, live stream wise, you're right. I don't think I've seen plenty of minors obviously on videos, but not on live streams. Actually, thinking about it. No, actually thinking, yeah, I don't think I have. Yeah. But thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for bringing that up. I will definitely, oof, I will definitely no longer bring her on. I think I can make a video of her. I'm gonna make a video of her with a crown. I think that's still alright, but I need to look at it more. To be honest, I'm winging it half the time. I don't look at rules. I just click accept. Do you know what I mean? So I'm pretty bad. Yes, yes, it is a good call. Um, yes, thank you, Sylvia. Okay, and yeah, I'll need to look at that then. I will need to look at that. Ooh. Um, Also, exciting news. I'm trying to figure out a new store as well. Oh, Sarah P, do me a favor. When you get a chance, go and click on the store that's on there to see if you can view it from America. don't purchase a thing, just literally, can you view it? Can you see the stuff in it type of thing. We can't in the UK, and I don't understand it. Don't understand it at the minute. Um, I'm quite glad we can't see it from the UK because it's too expensive. Um, Raising money for charity, I don't know if it was because of a mind of well, I mean, we just have to go with both. Do you know what I mean? But it's still a good point. It's still a good point. Trouble is, she always wants to go bloody on. Do you know what I mean? She always wants to be on tubes with a girl done that. But we'll sort it. Um, yeah, okay. I have got the Matthew Moore. So just in case people don't know what we're doing, I know there's some people running late today. They started, they're gonna come in about 3 o'clock. Some people are, which is fine. So the idea is though this is gonna be played now until Christmas, maybe after Christmas, I don't know. So I'm only gonna do like I'm not gonna do it morning, afternoon. I'm just gonna do maybe a witness or 2 witnesses or something, depending on what it is, and we can chat about it and stuff. I'm not gonna rush through it. This is supposed to be a chilled out, enjoyable Wednesday. You don't see anything about Storm. So if I share my oh no, I can't. So I got oh, let me share this. So I got it in. I got the store here. If I click on it, due to merchandise restrictions, your shop is not displayed to viewers in the United Kingdom. That's why I want it. Hello, Erin. Taco, taco, taco time. Taco time. Erin, beautiful time. Small bus. Okay, so it doesn't work. That's fine. I'm not upset about it not working. I just don't understand why it's not working. I didn't like it. I liked it, but the prices are woo, especially for the UK, the prices were so expensive. So I'm quite glad. Um, but was there even a store? What? There's not even a store header. What? You haven't got a store header. Hang on, let me just post this then. Does this bring it up then? Does this bring it up? This into the header. Erin tackle beaver small bus. Yellow bus small bus. Erin. Erin, when are you joining us again? We're missing you. Have you finished that other trial? We're on another trial now as well. We're doing this and then we're doing a murder trial. That's what we're doing in a minute. It's the I don't remember his name now. Something from Florida. We've only done seen day one. It seems pretty clear cut at the minute, but we'll see. Um, she is, yeah. So it doesn't work for the UK anyway, but I'll trial. What about that link though? So does that link to it? Which is fine. I say it's. I'm not mad that it's not gone there because I'm not really too happy about it anyway. Because I don't quite understand how it works. To be quite honest with you, because I went on Nick. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, they did catch him. Yeah. Um, seen this. Yeah. So this one we're doing every Wednesday. We're only doing a couple of hours every Wednesday morning for you guys. We've got another one then, the Florida one. We're doing every day now at the minute. We're a day behind we are, but it seems to be okay. So that's gonna be happening at 1 o'clock Eastern today. I'm doing that one. Yeah, senior they captured him. They took a picture of him in a Phillies jersey. They were, like, celebrating all around him, just taking pictures. He's all bloody and stuff. Fine, sorry, yeah, fine, I'll work on it. I'm not mad about it because I looked at it, right? I looked at Nicholas, his store and also Recovery Addict store. Now, it was hard because Nick's store was dirt cheap. I was like, "How the I couldn't even get those prices. I don't understand how we got those prices. I couldn't get them." The Recovery Addicts were, like, double the price. I was like, "What the f" So he's Recovery Addict. If you buy merch from a Recovery Addict, you're making a profit, and he's making double the profit. Nick, I don't know how Nick is so cheap. So I'm not the UK version of it, way too expensive. I'm literally doing it for nothing in the UK. Um, so I need to work that out. I'll work it out on my own time. It's all good. But thank you for checking anyway. The store works for me, but not for you. That's fine. So I don't know much about this trial, guys, but that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's what we're here. This is more of a us chatting and going through the trial. I hope this lasts us months. So, as I say, it's not gonna be like 2, 3 hours pure of trial, it's not. It might only be an hour trial today, I don't know what it's gonna be. Um, but I just want it to be a chilled out one that we can enjoy something together, as a series without rushing through it, and then the rest of it then, yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one, Erin, but this one, I hope you join us every Wednesday for this one. This is only gonna be like a couple of hours. But then the new trial, it's a weird I can't get into it yet. I can't get into the new one yet. But I think Sylvia said it's only gonna be short anyway, so and once we're done with that, we might go to the Cara one that we were originally planning to do anyway. So it's all good. Right, let me get this on screen then. So this is Delaware County, Ohio. OH, no one's here that supports them. So OH, Ohio, Ohio. Let me put myself there, put that there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So right, I've never seen this. I don't know who the players are. I know the outcome because everyone knows the outcome, but I think it's going to be quite intriguing. So I'm going to press that, see where it starts now. I'll say this is just a friendly one. I can stop at any time. I can, do whatever. I'm looking forward to it. Delaware County. I've heard of Delaware, Ohio. Ohio must be a big county then, or big region, sorry, or state, I should say. Sorry. That's fine. Judge Wolver.
Everyone follow the court's admonition last night? Get a good night's rest? Good. Stayed away from any media coverage? Good. I have a couple instructions I'd like to share with you before we actually begin with opening statements and the trial itself. The first instruction has to do with taking of notes.
We love you,
You're going to have
Erin.
the opportunity to take notes during the course of this trial, and you've been given materials to do so. The first thing I want to share with you is there's no requirement you take notes. This isn't class. So if you wish to take a note and you think that'll be helpful to you, please do. If you don't feel it will be particularly helpful and you want to just use your recall and memory of the facts, that's equally fine. We're not going to be watching whether you're taking notes or not. So it is a tool that you may utilize if you wish. I do emphasize, again,
It is good call audio. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who this is. Yeah, and that's why I wanna like stretch it, if you know what I mean. Because I've heard it's really good, but I don't want it to get boring. So that's why I wanna this is gonna last us at least till Christmas. So that's why I thought something nice for us to do together.
It is your recall and memory of the facts
Who's
as you
this guy? I
find
have no
them to
idea.
be that is the most important feature of your service as a juror. What I mean by that is when you go into the jury room and
What?
someone says,
Shut the front door. That's not what he looks like on my thumbnail. What the hell? That looks like a completely different guy. Wow. I wouldn't have never guessed that was him. I see a picture of him with long hair and the picture of my thumbnail. That does not look anything like him. Wow, thanks, Lou. Not a clue what that.
well, this is a fact because I wrote it down, doesn't necessarily mean you should say, well, if my recollection is differently, I should just give that up. That's what the discussion back and forth and deliberations is all about. So it's your memory and recall that is the most important service you have. And of course, notes may assist you with that
Okay.
as you choose to take those notes. As always, keep your notes confidential. Keep them to
Good,
yourself.
Sylvia.
When we
Every
take a break,
Wednesday.
just fold them up, put them on your chair. When we leave in the evening, you will just leave them in the chair and we will keep them secure overnight and then provide them to you again in the morning. I will also indicate to you that
Well, you are a nosy mother, nosy mother effer, aren't you? So, not surprising it piqued your interest. Sylvia, well, let's watch together. Sarah and myself have never seen it before, so
when you retire to deliberate, you'll be able to take the notes with you.
I presume that's
Utilize
Diane.
them as you wish during your deliberations. And then when the trial is over, we will take the notes back and shred them. They will not be made a record in this case. So if doodling helps you focus, feel free to do that as well in your notes. It's up to you. So uh,
Oh,
again, I want
I'm so excited now. Lou says it. Erin has said it's the best ever. I'm happy now. We will, Erin. Well, I hope, Erin, you can come next Wednesday and join us back again. We're only watching a little bit of this anyway today, so I'm excited. I'm so excited.
to indicate you have the right to do so, but give you a few instructions about the taking of those notes. Now, I also indicated to you that you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of witnesses during the course of the trial. And what we will do is this procedure. Any one of you can ask a question. I also want to emphasize it's not required that you ask a question. What we will do is when the witnesses concluded their testimony by counsel, I will then ask the jury if you have any questions. And if you have a question, you'll write it down on a piece of paper. And I'll give you some time if you need to do so to formulate that. One of our staff members will stop over and pick up your questions. Now, the question should be pointed to the witness's testimony only. In other words, the topic they were on and the facts that they presented to you, that would be the nature of any questions you might have. If you got questions about other aspects of the case, you have to wait until that witness testifies regarding that. We will take your questions and I will review them and counsel will review them together. There are rules of evidence. As you know, I rule on objections. And so because you're not lawyers, you may ask a question that I can't ask the witness. Or there may be a question that I rephrase the way that you posed the question. Or I may just ask the question as you presented it to that witness to answer it on your behalf. So do not take anything from the fact that perhaps a question is not asked that you provided. As I say, there are certain rules that I have to address dealing with the questions posed to that witness. Again, I am
So, okay, not to be dull here. Which one is she then? Is Diane the middle one or the right one as we look at it? Um, it's very fair, very well run court, complete opposite of Zach's trial. This is why it's important to watch these then, do you know what I mean? I haven't watched many fair trials. Far right. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. She looks like someone I wouldn't mess with. The one in the middle looks fit as well.
emphasize the question should be regarding solely the testimony of that witness. If there's something they said you wanted to be more
Another quick question. Sorry, I'm annoying, I know. But is this did he pay for her or is this a public funded um defense? Does anyone know?
clarified or a question regarding their testimony you wanted fleshed out a little bit more, you certainly are entitled to ask those types of questions, but only to that particular witness. We will keep the questions and Again, I emphasize you're not required to ask questions. If just one of you wants to ask a question out of the entire panel, that's fine. If none of you have any questions, that's equally fine. So it's entirely an option, again, like taking notes, available to you that might assist you in developing and understanding the testimony and evidence as it is presented to you. All right, with that, we're going to begin our case. As you know, the first portion of the case are opening statements of counsel. Because the state has the burden of proof, the state can speak to you first, and then the defense will have an opportunity to address you as well. Opening statements are designed to give you a sense or a roadmap of what this case is about from the perspective of both parties. And they will share that information with you. And I think it's helpful to give you a kind of a context or a beginning to what this case is about. I do caution you that opening statements in and of themselves are not evidence. In fact, rarely anything a lawyer says is actually evidence. They ask questions of witnesses.
Am I annoying? Who's annoying?
And the answers of the witnesses are
Thanks,
evidence,
both.
but not the questions of the lawyer, unless the witness agrees with the question posed by that lawyer. Nonetheless, opening statements are helpful to give you some perspective as to where we're going, but in and of themselves, they are not evidence. When the first witness takes a stand, that's when we begin the presentation of evidence in this case. Please give your attention to the representative of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
We're probably listening to the opening of both. I know that like Sarah is like literally like bouncing to watch the whole trial, and I know it might be annoying to watch it over a course of months, but I just think it's nice to do something with a good trial over brings us all together. So we'll probably listen to both openings today and then leave it at that, I think. But we'll see.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the judge just stated to you, opening statements is our chance to give you a roadmap. I know that this courtroom's a little wonky right now, so I'll probably wander back and forth, so please don't mind me over here. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first get a new book, one of the first things
did
I
I?
do is
I don't
actually
remember.
read the last few chapters of the book. It gives me an idea of where things are going to go. The ending is usually the most important part. It's usually the most exciting part. But what I've learned over the years is that that's a pretty bad practice to have, because without an understanding of the characters, of the plot, of what's happening beforehand, the ending really can be far different than what you're reading in black and white, what you see in front of you. Now, what you'll see in this case, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is really no different than some of those books. The ending that you may just see if you were presented that today is not what it seems. And what you'll hear during the testimony, during the evidence in this case, is that there's a lot of things you need to be aware of about what happened before Emily Noble went missing, what was happening and what people were doing while Emily Noble was missing, and what happened afterwards. Those details are extremely important in this case, and we ask you to focus on those details.
Bye, Erin. Love you. See you soon, all right? Thanks, Erin.
As you hear the evidence. What we expect you to hear during the presentation of the next 2 weeks, when you hear the evidence, the testimony, is that you'll see the ending in this case. You'll see that this is a very real case. This isn't a book. This is very real. And it'll be clear to you what happened to Emily Noble. Emily Noble was born on May 24th of 1968. You'll hear from friends, family, people that knew her, will describe you to her, that she was outdoorsy, that she liked to forage for plants and herbs in various forested areas. The exact place that you went yesterday during your jury view, specifically, and I'll point that to you here in a second. You'll hear that she was outgoing and never met a stranger. You also hear that she was brave, and you'll hear ample testimony about Emily Noble's life. Now, you'll hear early on from some of the people most closely related that knew Emily the best. You'll hear from her sister that during this time period where most of the facts and circumstances of this case will be, which is May 24th, May 25th, and May 26th, that was a special time period for both Emily and her sister. You'll find out through the testimony, and we expect you'll hear that today, that Emily and her sister were born 2 days apart, the 24th and the 26th. And so the 25th was the one date and time that they were the same age. And that was a special time for them and something that they seemingly celebrated almost every year. What you'll hear during the testimony in this case is, again, the experiences everyone had with Emily. And the one thing that I think will be prevalent is that she has undergone a large amount of tragedy in her life. And as you'll hear testimony, we expect you'll hear testimony that during all these trials and tribulations that Emily went through, she was brave, she persevered, and fought through. Now, we expect during the testimony that you'll hear evidence that Emily was previously married. The individual's name is Mark. You'll hear that at one point while they were married, Mark died in 2011, and that he committed suicide. What you'll hear is that, again, that happened in 2011, and we expect you'll hear testimony about how Emily dealt with that in her personal life, her friends and family that were around her at that time, and how she persevered through a very trying time in her life. We also expect that you'll hear testimony that both of Emily's parents died within a year of each other, in 2015 and 2016. And that, again, Emily, we expect you'll hear testimony, her reactions to that, what she did to work through those issues, what she did to work through that stress. And we expect you'll hear testimony from those individuals over the next 2 weeks. During that same time frame, Emily met the defendant, Matthew Moore. When Emily met Mr. Moore, he also had a son that he brought to that marriage, and that son's name is Joey. We expect you to hear testimony a little bit about Joey over the next couple of weeks. What you'll hear is that during their marriage, up until 2018, that leading up to their marriage, that there was a relationship between Mr. Moore and Mr. Noble, Miss Noble and Mr. Moore, that they met each other, that they started a relationship. At that time, the defendant was living in Las Vegas, eventually came to Westerville, and that's where they lived in their condo at Abbey Cross. From that time period on, the two of them, as well as Joey, lived at that location, the location that you saw yesterday during the jury view. As I mentioned, you'll hear a little bit of testimony about their relationship during that time period, friends as well as family members that were around during that. Once the defendant was around, we expect you'll hear testimony from the witnesses over the next couple of weeks that some of those relationships that Emily had, longstanding relationships with friends, became strained, that they became less frequent. The more routine or even yearly get-togethers ceased happening, and that those relationships ceased to exist other than conversations occurring on the phone, text messages, but those yearly meetings and get-togethers that were so prevalent and important to many people became less frequent. We expect you'll hear that in 2019, tragedy struck Emily Noble once more. And that was when the son of the defendant, Joey, who was living there, that Emily took a passion to, committed suicide as well. Now,
Wow.
what's important
Wow.
to note, and I expect the testimony, that Emily was proactive when these issues occurred in her life. She sought therapy, she talked to others. During this time period, after Joey committed suicide in 2019, we expect to give her testimony that she took time off of work to be at home with the defendant, to work through what had just happened in their life, to seek therapy. And that towards the end of 2019, after doing those things, after being proactive, she continued to persevere and went back to work. Now,
No, I'm sure people don't like. I don't mind it. I'm quite enjoying the story that he's saying. I quite enjoy his speech. If you know, I mean, he's not shouting. He's not too quiet. I I'm following it. I'm interested in it. Like I know some people like fiery lawyers, but I'm quite enjoying him. I'm not sure how he is as an attorney, but with his opening, I'm following him and I'm seeing it. And she suffered loads of tragedy. Jesus.
we also expect you'll hear testimony that leading up to that, and then going now into 2020, that Emily was making real changes in her life. She was changing her lifestyle, her diet, trying to be more physically fit, those types of things that she's been working through over the course of the years, and that she was making serious changes in her life and seemingly was in a good place based on individuals that were around her, speaking with her and talking with her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's information we expect you'll hear over the next 2 weeks. And I think that is of paramount importance to understand the background and what is occurring prior to the disappearance of Emily Noble. And we expect that you'll hear ample testimony of that over the next 2 weeks. But ladies and gentlemen, you'll also hear testimony about May 24th, 2020. May 25th of 2020. And that is the last time Emily Noble was found alive. We expect you'll hear testimony that on the 24th, which of course was her birthday, that she and the defendant went to a water spring in Buckle, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half southeast of Columbus. That they had plans that day, eventually went back to their home in Westerville, in the what's known as the Uptown Westerville area, which is the little downtown area where there are many stores, restaurants, places you can walk back and forth, walk into. You'll hear that the two of them went to a couple of different establishments. Old Bag of Nails, Cobley, Jimmy V's. Again, these are restaurants that are located in Uptown Westerville. And that roughly around the time period of 7 p.m., a little bit before, they were back at their home on Abbey Cross in Westerville, the place that you visited yesterday. You'll see throughout this trial, there were a few pictures taken from that day, pictures of Ms. Noble, the defendant. And one thing that you'll note is that these are regular pictures, selfies. There's no injuries to the neck, face area. And that becomes important when we're looking at the timeline of events. And again, you'll hear testimony about this as we go through this case over the next 2 weeks. The next day, on May 25th of 2020, we expect you'll see evidence that it wasn't until 5:47 p.m. that the defendant made a phone call to one of Emily's friends to say she was missing. It wasn't then until 5:54 p.m. that the Westerville Police Department was first notified that Ms. Noble had seemingly disappeared and vanished out of sight. What we'll ask you to do is focus on the timeline of events, and you'll hear testimony over the next 2 weeks. You'll hear and see a body camera from one of the officers today that originally came out to the scene and spoke to Mr. Moore. Expect that during that testimony you hear evidence that Mr. Moore was awake, according to his words, as early as 10 a.m. Again, as early as 10 a.m., the phone call made with the friend was at 5:47 p.m. We expect that you'll hear his story initially, that the two of them had came back to their house, slept together in the bedroom, that he woke up at some point at 1:30 in the morning, went and slept in another room, and then when he woke up, she was gone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see pictures of the house. You'll hear the statements made by Mr. Moore at the time. And what you'll find out during the testimony is that not only had Emily apparently disappeared, according to the defendant's own statement, but that was done without a note. You'll find out that she didn't tell anyone she was leaving. Her phone was left behind. Her ID was left behind. Her wallet was still at the house. Her car was still at the house, and that she seemingly disappeared after making the bed that morning. You also hear testimony that leading up to that weekend, Ms. Noble made a dentist appointment for the following week, and that was not canceled. We also expect to hear testimony that nothing had changed with her employment, and seemingly everything was normal. What you'll hear during the testimony, during the body cam, as well as testimony from officers and detectives from the Westerville Police Department, is that the defendant's statements jump around. The timeline is unclear, his own timeline. Where individuals were is unclear, and that seemingly statements are made initially to control the situation. We expect you'll hear testimony of that today. Shortly after, actually that day, as well as going forward, you'll hear from numerous individuals that were part of the search process to find Emily Noble. We expect you'll hear through testimony that individuals that were part of that search process may have never even met the defendant. Some of them had met him one time when they initially went and got flyers very early on in the investigation, or when the disappearance first happened, but otherwise didn't see or even meet the defendant while these searches occurred for almost 4 months. You'll hear about these searches, that police are involved, friends were involved, people that had never met Emily were involved because they wanted to do their part to help. They were searching close by, further away, woods, water, basically any area that they could think of. We also expect that you'll hear testimony over the next 2 weeks of some cell phone forensics that were done on the cell phones, attempts by law enforcement to put a timeline of events together. And again, as we go through that evidence, you'll see, or we expect that you'll see, the discrepancies that are occurring during this time period, not only leading up to Emily's disappearance, but also the night in question on the 24th and 25th. September 16th, 2020 is when you'll find out that the remains of Emily Noble were first located. What you'll hear is that 3 ladies, one of which knew Emily, one was the sister of that individual, and then a third person that had never met Emily in her life, were searching a wooded area that was nearby the condo. That after searches that had occurred for the better part of 3, almost 4 months at that time, resulted in not finding Ms. Noble. That searches more close by started to occur again, in places that were thought to have been previously searched.
Turn the light off so they can see that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you went on a jury view yesterday, and what we expect the testimony will show, and I'm going to mark on the screen so that you have a chance to see where we're talking about. I put a red X on the location on Abbey Cross Lane. That's the location you first stopped at yesterday, the home of Emily Noble and the defendant. You'll see just to the west, there's another red line there. That little, what appears to be a street, is actually the bike path that you walked through yesterday. And then that wooded area to the west, that direction, is the wooded area that you'll hear about over the next 2 weeks. The area that Emily Noble was found was roughly in that area where I just placed the X there. Now, you'll hear testimony from the 3 individuals that found Emily, that they were walking down the bike path, walking in a westward direction. The woods became crowded. As you all witnessed firsthand yesterday, there's shrubs and trees and things all over the place, and it's not readily apparent how to even get through the wooded area. But we expect to hear testimony from the 3 individuals that as they were walking in a westward direction, eventually they found the remains of Emily Noble, found what they were looking for. You'll hear testimony that they called Westerville police, and at that time, Emily was finally found. You'll see pictures of the scene taken from BCI. You'll see pictures of Emily and how she's situated. And what you'll see is that she was in a kneeling position under a tree that was about almost 6.5 feet tall, and was found with a micro USB cord wrapped around her neck. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't the end of the investigation. And you'll hear testimony towards the tail end of these 2 weeks about the physical examinations that were then done, both on the scene as well as Emily Noble's remains. What we expect you'll hear during the testimony from the 2 experts from the state is that Emily had bilateral fractures of the hyoid bone, which is a bone further up in the neck area. And they'll describe to you and show you where that bone is located, where the fractures were located. But bilateral meaning one on each side, so pressure on both sides. We also expect during the testimony you'll hear there are bilateral fractures of the greater horns of the thyroid cartilage, which is roughly an inch or so under in the same neck structures where the hyoid bone would be. And again, you'll hear testimony from a couple of experts demonstrating where that area is located on a body. You'll hear that there was trauma to the left maxilla, the nasal bones, the left side of her face, up by her nose, top of her lip area. And what we expect you'll hear during the testimony is that these injuries that are described were all perimortem, or at or around the time of death, as opposed to healing fractures that occurred earlier in time, or items that are, or injuries that would have occurred after death. And we expect you'll hear testimony in that regard from many witnesses over the next 2 weeks, those experts. Specifically of those experts, we expect towards the tail end of our case that you'll hear from Dr. Smock. And during his testimony, he'll go through with you his experience, his background, his education. And we expect that his opinion will weigh heavy in this case. We expect during the testimony you'll hear from Dr. Smock that Emily Noble did not die of an incomplete hanging, that the scene itself was not consistent with the injuries he noted, and that his belief is based on the location, the bilateral fractures, that the cause of death of Emily Noble was a manual strangulation. We expect your testimony based on his experiences dealing with these types of cases, his educational background, why you will be able to make that finding and demonstrate that to you. We also expect Dr. Smock will explain to you that based on the scene, based on the injuries, based on his opinion, this was a staged suicide, something that made it look like a suicide. Again, if you read the end of that book and saw the pictures and saw Miss Noble the way she was, you may think one thing. But when you get a chance to hear about the characters and see the timeline of events and see the injuries and hear all this testimony, the ending is not what it seemed maybe at first glance, but it's far more complicated and far more real than that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we expect that what you'll hear during the testimony as well is that Mr. Moore, from the beginning, was trying to control the situation, that he continued to stage this scene other than the physical scene that you saw or that you'll see occurred in those woods. And we expect that you'll hear during the testimony that Mr. Moore, the night of the 24th, going into the early morning of the 25th, that very important time frame in this case, that between 1 and 4 in the morning, he's sending messages to friends, stating he's taking a sleeping pill and that's probably going to sleep in. Again, I believe the evidence will demonstrate that from the beginning, Mr. Moore is controlling the scene and trying to stage what eventually will be located in those woods. That becomes of paramount importance when we believe you'll hear testimony today of Mr. Moore and comparing Mr. Moore's original statements to law enforcement about when he woke up, roughly 10 or 11 a.m., and that's inconsistent with some of the activity that occurred on his phone, demonstrating that he was awake far earlier than that, at 8:30 in the morning, and that he was awake even further in the earlier morning up until about 4 in the morning. So we expect that when you hear the testimony that there's a major discrepancy in the time frame. You'll hear a part of that today when you hear the initial statements, as well as when looking at the cell phone forensics. Ladies and gentlemen, we expect you'll find out during the testimony that that's not all. That the defendant sent a text message to Emily just before noon on the 25th. Used the Find My iPhone app, which is an application designed to try to find where someone else's phone may be. And that he did that in around noon hour on the 25th, instead of leaving the room that he was lying in, instead of walking through the house to see if Miss Noble was there. And again, we expect you to hear testimony that it wasn't for at least 6 hours after that before Mr. Moore finally called someone and said, "My wife is missing." Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see body camera footage from Officer Hollis today. Again, Officer Hollis is the responding officer on the scene. He came, had the initial conversations with Matthew Moore.
I'm in hospital. Oh, no worries, Sandra. Yeah, no worries. This is only on for a bit. Anyway, we're back on properly at 1 o'clock Eastern, so it's all good. Josie, hello. I thought we had to send out a rescue boat for you. You were missed yesterday. I was like, that. Where is she? Is she ill? Is she, but we thought, no, she's probably busy. So nice to see you back, Josie. Bit worried about you. You're normally a nosy one, so you're normally everywhere. It's on Josie. Hi, Josie. This is still the opening for the States.
And we expect that you'll see during that body camera footage that there's a specific area noted in the back of the garage that after some period of time, almost 2 hours after the report, Mr. Moore points to and says, "This is weird. This cord doesn't belong here." And what we expect you'll see during the body camera footage is that there have been things moved during the pendency of when Officer Hollis originally first comes on scene to when the defendant points this area out. Following that conversation and during that conversation, you'll hear that Mr. Moore says, "This area is weird. I haven't touched it, but this seems out of place to me. Somebody must have done this." But what we expect you'll hear is that this is just another example of the defendant controlling the scene, staging the scene to make this look like something other than what it was. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 weeks of testimony, you're going to hear evidence about.
It's all good. I knew you were busy or something because it's not like you not to be here. So I thought it was something like that. Boza, yes. So just in case people don't know, the wheel chose this yesterday. Nick Bosa, 97. And for those that don't know, Josie and Sarah P, the two best mods in the world, are both Niners fans. So it's like bang bang Niners fans, bang bang Niners gang. So a treat for them. That's what the wheel chose, so that's what we wear. Right. Oops. What did Yeah, it's so inappropriate, isn't it, Sarah?
Cell phones, physical evidence. You're going to hear about the parties, everyone involved. And we ask you to be diligent in your review. Diligent in your review of the timeline, how things go together, and diligent in reviewing this case and discussing. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we're going to ask you to see this for exactly what this is. And we're going to ask you to make a finding of guilty of the charge of murder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Please
what
give
do
your
you-
attention for counsel for the defense. You're welcome.
What do you think of that then, guys? What do you think of him? I thought it was in the end he dragged on a bit, but I thought he started strong. I liked the way he did it, but in the end I was a bit like, okay, mate, just sit down. Just it's all good. It's all good. Any thoughts on it from anybody? I'll give you a second because obviously we got delay here. Calm down. No, no one's speaking. But I suppose you got to type it in, so I'm just typing as well. Yo. Tell me, got yes. Yeah, I thought it was. I think he could have ended probably 5 minutes before he did, but I liked it. I could see, I could picture it. It's a little bit humane as well about his sister and stuff, her troubles, and no, I did enjoy it. I just think he could have probably, and this is me being pedantic, he probably could have cut it off 5 minutes before he did. But that's me being literally over pedantic. But no, I liked it. I liked it. Right. So what we'll probably do is watch the defense one now, have a bit of a discussion, whatever, and then finish this then for the day, and then come back and watch the other trial. So let's listen to everyone's favorite, apparently. So I've never met her, never heard of her, but apparently she's really, really good. So
Would you mind keeping the lights at
yes, I agree.
You just want the document.
I agree with you. Well presented, well said. I agree. It's refreshing to see. What's going? Oh, okay, they're helping her out. Oh, she got a presentation. Fine. So I have to send off this reference as well for an ex-employee. So I'm just trying to do that at the same time. Insert file.
Good morning. As I introduced myself yesterday, Diane Menashe on behalf of Matt Moore, my co-counsel,
Menashe.
Alexander Petrello. The state, I just listened to them for about 30 minutes, and they told you their theory. Their theory is that Matt Moore killed his wife. Don't know when, but Matt Moore kills his wife, and then somehow gets her body into the wooded area where you walked yesterday and stages her death. And then I heard the state go on to say that their evidence will show how not just was he that sophisticated to figure out those two things, but he then also took great efforts to control the situation after May 24th and May 25th of 2020. Members of the jury, the evidence will show that the state's theory is based on speculation and inferences. It is not supported by the evidence. And simply, members of the jury, their theory doesn't make sense. Now, I know you were listening to the state's opening just as
Hi,
well
John.
as I was. And the judge has already told you that our opening statements are not evidence. They are just how we believe the evidence will unfold. But I say this, that in my 30-some minutes of listening to the state's argument, I noted that they didn't mention reasonable doubt. That is their burden. Their burden is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And we talked about that in voir dire. It's their burden and their burden alone. And the judge has already given you the instructions of law, and he will again, which say, if the state fails to meet their burden, then the only appropriate verdict as to each of the three counts in this case is not guilty. And here's why I mentioned reasonable doubt and that they didn't mention it. Is because as the judge has told you, and as I talked about in voir dire, reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and common sense. And so I want to talk about this morning during my opening statement as to why it doesn't make sense that Matthew Moore, and I'll call him Matt, that Matt killed his wife Emily and then staged her suicide. First, members of the jury, the evidence will show there's no physical evidence. You will hear evidence the state will put on, we anticipate, that law enforcement extensively searched the area.
And we'll share, as always, share Lady Law's channel as well. Hello, Lady Law. You disappeared yesterday. I gave you a good speech, and then you disappeared. You never came back. I was like, oh, okay. I just told everyone how much I love you. So that's all it was. So yeah, please subscribe to Lou, and then we'll have Lady Laws. Please subscribe to hers, but I think everyone is. Jodie, you may not be, but if you're not, you can subscribe to her. Lady Law. Everyone loves Lady Law. I love Lady Law. She's my favorite streaming partner. Lady Law, hello. So
Of 46 Abbey Cross. Not just
here
Westerville
she
Police
is.
Departments.
Subscribe
but
to
the
Lady
Ohio
Law.
Bureau
Sarah.
Criminal Investigations was brought in. A unit whose sole job, members of the jury,
I know.
is to look.
It's one of those things sometimes, you know what, like Lady Law's really busy at the minute, and it's one of those things that we all go through it, and you can't see, but I'll enjoy the day that things are more normalized for you, so you can come back a little bit more, and we'll do some more streaming together. That's fine. If you're subscribed, that's fine. We all want to subscribe to her. She's awesome. Well, I think the same, very highly of you as well. So there we are. My favorite streamer and streamer partner. But hopefully we get her back when she's less busy as well. But also, I think she's going to be I won't say it in case it doesn't happen, but she's upcoming on another streamer's stream, maybe on Friday, so keep an eye out. If she is on there, we'll advertise it and tell you if she's on there. If she's got the time enough to go onto that other person's stream. But if she is, then it's a great opportunity for her as well, because the other streamer's awesome.
Look for forensics. They're there too.
We know,
And it's not just the house. And when I say the house, members of the jury, the evidence will show that they searched the entire perimeter area. But the evidence will also show that exhaustively and extensively they searched the Ultima, they searched
Here we are.
the Subaru.
I didn't want to announce it in case you weren't going on, but yes, Lady Law is on with Vices on Friday. I wasn't sure you could do it because it's like 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock your time. So I was like, well, you're in work, so I wasn't sure if you're going to be on there or not. But Lady Law's going to be on there, so there we are on Vices Friday night. Yeah, you may need to nudge him, I suppose.
They searched the attic
Yeah.
with Matt's permission, by the way. Did they do all these searches?
You see, they come on this channel and we propel them. Look at her. She's gone to bigger things. But we'll bring her back down to earth when I need to. And she'll come back with this stream, don't worry. But she's going to be a superstar. So she needs to be on Vices, get more exposure for herself. Oops, wrong one. Press the wrong button.
They searched the bedding, the sheets that were in Joey's bedroom, where Matt Moore told the police the evidence will show he slept once he got up in the middle of the night and he had to go to the bathroom. He slept in that bedroom. More bedding. They searched the bathroom, and this is why this is important. The evidence will show members of jury, and in particular, what was in the hamper in the bathroom, because they searched this too. The evidence will show that the clothing in the hamper is the same clothing that Matt Moore and Emily Moore were wearing on her birthday the night before, when she's last seen. And so what comes of all these searches that were made by law enforcement, not just at Westerville Police Department, but also for BCI&I, the house, the cars, the attic, the clothes, the evidence will show you that there's nothing. There's no blood, there's no tissue, there's no fibers, there's nothing. But the evidence will show it wasn't just people that searched all those places that we just went through. It was also cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs that the evidence will tell you are trained specifically to come to a scene, a location, and alert when they smell or detect either blood, tissue, or any smell of death. The cadaver dogs, in addition to humans, searched all the areas I just told you about. And what will the evidence show that the cadaver dogs found? Nothing. There's no physical injuries. And when I say physical injuries, I mean to Matt. He calls the 911, as the state has said, on May 25th and reports that his wife is missing. I want to pause there, though. He calls 911, brings the police to his house. The evidence will show certainly that that's what a 911 call does. Common sense tells us that. They get there, and then within 48 hours, they ask my client, Matt, to come down to the police station and give a statement, and he does. He goes to the police station, and when he's there, two of the detectives say, "What about scratches or injuries on you?" The evidence will show that Matt Moore takes off his shirt, not at the direction of the state, but he takes off.
He normally goes on for like 6, 7, 8 hours. So, and he has people at different times. So, yeah, you'll be there at some point, so you'll be fine. Probably when he's drunk and stuff. So, There we are. Sometimes he goes crazy. Yes, I agree, Sarah P. I agree, Sarah P. I can understand now, Lou, why you said that if this lawyer was for Zach, he wouldn't be in prison right now.
Off his shirt. Now, before he takes off his shirt, of course, his face is exposed, and you're going to see a body cam video of Officer Hollis, and you will see what Matt Moore is wearing when the officers arrive. And you'll see which parts of his body are exposed. So he takes off his shirt. Officers lean in. Hands, forearms, chest, neck, face, back, legs. What did they find? Nothing. And consider this evidence, members of the jury, or the lack of evidence, particularly after you went to that wooded area yesterday. The judge is correct to say that your jury view in and of itself is not evidence. But it is, as the judge told you yesterday, something for you to consider when you hear the evidence that's presented. Think about how hard it was to get down there. And I even just wrote what the state said in their opening about that area. It was essentially shrubs and trees, not readily apparent it's even there. Now, members of the jury, again, our statements are not evidence, but what the state says they will give to you to meet their burden,
I remember you saying.
hold them to it. Because as they started this morning, that is their roadmap. So there's no physical injuries on Matt Moore. There's no time of death in this case, members of the jury. The state has alleged, and the judge read you the charges, and the state has just stood up in his opening and said that on May 24th and May 25th of 2020, Matt Moore killed his wife, and then there's also a charge of felonious assault, but there's 2 counts of murder and felonious assault. The dates are the 24th and 25th. There is no witness. There is no expert. There is no police officer. There is no lay witness that can or will give you the time of death. And I remember in voir dire yesterday when I was talking to the veneer about dates and attention span, and I remember saying dates are incredibly important in this case. The dates we know are the date that Emily went missing. The last she was seen is by a neighbor that lives across from 46 Abbey Cross, where you went yesterday. In fact, the neighbor that lives directly across the street. He sees Emily going for a walk that morning in her walking clothes. And we know the evidence will show, evidence that we will present, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we know that he definitely saw Emily on the 25th and not any other day based on the cell phone evidence. So there is no time of death. We know that Emily went missing on March 25th is when she's last seen by someone other than Matt Moore, and we know that she's found on September 16th. We do not know when she got to the park or how she got to the park, but with respect to time of death, there is no information that the state will offer you as to that at any point in this trial. We will, however, present expert from University of Tennessee, who is a researcher at an institute called the Body Farm. And in fact, it's an expert that the state originally engaged in this case, and then the evidence will show decided not to use after she rendered a report.
Objection. Fair characterization.
Ladies and gentlemen, opening statement is not evidence, so therefore you will not consider statements as evidence to render your decision in this case. Please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Vivaldi is an expert from the University of Tennessee. She will testify that the most you can tell from the scene, based on her training and expertise and her work studying decaying corpses, is that the body decomposed there and had been there for a while. There is no time frame that even the best expert can put as to where and when Emily got to that scene. Furthermore, not only is there not a time of death, but the evidence will also show that there is no trace of Emily in that wooded area in May or June of 2020. And I want to go over some maps with you. And I know members of the jury, you were there yesterday.
Sarah, you were thinking, you're saying what I was thinking. Zach Stephens had pointed out that the state couldn't have known details about Arju's death. All the things that were highly speculative, things probably would have gone much differently. Look how she's outlining it. This is a proper opening for a defense. She's quashing everything, and even with I can imagine Gravely going 8 right now, wouldn't phase her. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he would. I don't know. I think she's very composed. She's very direct to the point. What she said about her witness from a professor from Tennessee, like, don't care. They were going to use him, but didn't like the report. Brilliant. That's what they want to hear. You know, very, very effective. Very, very effective for me, anyway. You have to point out all of those things that did as though, yes, you have to spell it all out. You literally have to basically put the whole case there. No officer can testify this. No officer can testify that. You'll hear a lot of what ifs from them, from the state, but there's nothing of fact. Blood. What blood? They'll say, oh, in our experience, there's no definitive answer that is blood. So it's, I'm sorry, I'm speaking about Zach there, not this one, but I like her. I like this one.
We'll start with this. This, as the state just showed you, is the map of the general area. To orient ourselves,
I agree.
This is kind of the general area right here where Emily's found. And as you are walking up that sidewalk, you might remember seeing an electrical box on the ground. That can always orient you in the pictures that you will see. But that's the general area right there where Emily was found. And yesterday, of course, this right here is the bike path, walking path. And this, of course, is County Line Road. Want to talk to you about when I say the evidence will show there's no trace of Emily in the woods or May or June. You are going to hear testimony that on the 25th, when the police arrived at the house, Matt Moore voluntarily said to the police officers, "Let me take you to the area where Emily loved to walk and forage." Where did he take her? Where did he take the police? Right there. Their own officers will have to admit to that Matt, as the evidence will show, walked them along this very line. And then what happened, well, the evidence will show that area, that exact area. In fact, the police will not only concede this during the evidence of this case, but they have all along in this investigation. They searched this area on foot 3 times. 3 times in May and June, and nothing. But like with the house and the car and the attic, it wasn't just humans, because cadaver dogs searched that area too. The evidence will show, and what was found when cadaver dogs went to the area where Matt Moore took the police as Emily's favorite walking path? Nothing. The evidence will also show the individual that lives at that house right there, whose kids play in the back of her house, butts right up to that wooded area, was home all Memorial Day weekend. Whether the weather was warm, the evidence will show. She saw nothing. She smelled nothing. No trace of Emily in the woods in May or June. Furthermore, the evidence will show that there's no evidence that connects Matt Moore to this scene. The state has just promised you that they will give you the testimony of Detective Hollis. And I believe that will happen today, and you will be able to see the body cam of Detective Hollis when he rolls up onto Abbey Cross on May 25th and interacts with Matt Moore. The state in their opening talked to you about this corner of the garage. The Detective Hollis body cam will also show you something else that's interesting. Is that in the camera, in the footage, the police are, from the beginning, telling Matt that he's a suspect, that they know they killed his wife. Right from the beginning.
Same as Zach.
And so why is this important? Is because the evidence will show that if that's what the officers were thinking, that common sense and the evidence supports, they didn't lose sight of that guy. They did not lose sight of him. Not mentioned, but the evidence will show that on May 25th, because not only did they not want to lose sight of him, they didn't want to lose track of him. They put a GPS on his car without him even knowing. Because that's the whole point of a GPS, right? Put it on someone's car so they don't know we're looking or following, so that we could trace their every move at any minute of any day. What do they find from the GPS? Nothing. Further, not only is there no movement from Abbey Cross and Matt to that scene, is that the items found at the scene, forensically tested, in particular, the USB cord that Emily had tied around her neck. What forensics are on the USB cord connecting the cord to Matt? Nothing. Further, there's no eyewitnesses. And I don't just mean eyewitnesses to what they claim is a murder, to the transportation, allegedly, of a body to a wooded area. There's no eyewitnesses to putting a body in there. And members of the jury, again, I say this. I know the judge told you your jury view was an evidence, but it's certainly for your consideration. You walked county line. You were able to feel and observe the amount of traffic on that road. You were also able to feel and observe whether there is a place where you can park on that road next to the wooded area. But there's no eyewitnesses. And certainly there was no eyewitness given by the state in their map. There's also members of the jury, the evidence will show no motive. And I know we talked about this yesterday in voir dire, that the state under Ohio law doesn't have to give you motive. And I completely agree with that. I also, though, as the judge will tell you, agree that there is a further instruction, that the absence of motive can be used by you in your determination as to purpose or intent. And the judge will tell you more about that, but it's critically important. Now, in the state's opening, they talked about Emily's bravery and her persistence. Joey, Matt's son, at around the age 18, hung himself with a cord in a wooded area about 1 mile from Abbey Cross. About 10 months prior to Emily being found in a wooded area with a cord around her neck. There is no question that Joey's death was a suicide. That's what the evidence will show. His death was a suicide. And I remember during voir dire, one of the jurors said, second most common death of juveniles is suicide, and Joey was a victim of that statistic. And the state actually, and I will agree, that Joey's suicide and hanging was particularly troublesome to both Matt and Emily. Both of them, neither of them could work. Emily took a 3 to 4 months absence from her job. Matt, well, you'll see there's text messages between Emily and Matt. Matt really was at a place in his life where getting up every day and just even doing things of normalcy was was, well, seemingly impossible. And the evidence will show that. And then the state talked about what Emily did was that Emily then went to counseling in August of 2019 because of Joey's death. And members of the jury, you will hear that when she goes to counseling, she goes because she is traumatized by the death and loss of Joey. She reports difficulty feeling sad and empty and guilty. She's paranoid about her husband's well-being. She's struggling with loss of interest in activities, with memories. She notes in her therapy that she has a prior history with struggling with anxiety. And members of the jury, the evidence will show she has a history of struggling with anger prior to the loss of her other loved ones. And she's starting to experience depression and notes that she's experienced depression before. The state in its opening talked about Emily's traumatic life. And I say this, there's not a lot of things that the evidence will be agreed upon by both sides in this case, but certainly that's one that I agree. Emily's first husband killed himself by shooting his head in 2011. A year later, in 2012, the evidence will show one of her very good friends killed herself. The evidence will show that. In 2017, her brother-in-law, by marriage, so Mark's brother, kills himself. In 2019, Joey hangs himself in a park from a tree. Trauma is almost an understatement as to what Emily had lived through. There is no question about that. But Joey, her stepson, and again, our openings aren't arguments, but the state said Emily was passionate about Joey. And the evidence will certainly support her passion and love for Joey and what that loss in 2019 did to her, emotionally and physically. And then, members of the jury, at the end of 2019, you will see that she unexpectedly stopped counseling and therapy. And instead, she turned to what Emily knew so well, which was trying to find peace in nature and the woods. She would walk daily, she would forage, she would go into the woods. You will hear that Emily and Matt were kind of a bunch of hippies. They would collect plants, nettles, they would dry them in the garage. You're going to see pictures of this. They canned, they like to forage for their own food, despite them living in Westerville, Ohio. She went to nature, the evidence will show.
See you, Lou. See you, Lou. See you later, Lou. Sorry, you have to go to work. Hello, Wendy. Lovely to see you. We're only on here for a little bit longer for this one. Then we're back for the other trial then later on. But lovely to see you, Wendy. Thanks for being here.
To find peace. And of course, it was nature where she was found on September 16th of 2020. Members of the jury, there's also no evidence of staging. I certainly listened to the state's opening that their theory is that Matt kills her, takes her to the wooded area, and then stages her death. And this is why, as you listen to this evidence, I ask you, members of the jury, to really use your common sense. Because the evidence will show that Emily is found in the position where you stood yesterday, under that branch. She's found with her water bottle next to her. Her hair is down. And we know that because the way her hair is matted when she's found. Her hair is down. Hair tie around her wrist. She's in her walking clothes. And hair tie around her wrist, I just say, is because we know that the last person that saw her leaving for a walk. She's in clothing that, as you look closely, right, is clothing that you would wear when you're walking. And you don't even need to look closely because the evidence will show she has her tennis shoes on. Not the shoes or the clothing that she's seen in the night before. And the evidence will show there is no question as to what Matt and Emily were wearing on the night of the 24th on her birthday, because we have pictures, selfies, that they took of themselves at the bar as they're celebrating her birthday. And here's something else with respect to the evidence will show about about the staging, is that as Emily's found, her right hand is gripping her ankle. You will hear evidence about the difference between a complete hanging and an incomplete hanging. But members of the jury, there is no evidence that that scene was staged. And then lastly, I want to talk about where the state ended. Sort of the last chapter in their book is their experts. I noticed in their opening statement, they spoke a lot when they talked about their experts about Dr. Smock. And as you listen to the evidence in this case, the evidence will show that Emily goes missing on the 25th. She's found in September 16th of 20. Almost a year goes by before Matt Moore is charged. Living in this community, out on the street, almost a year. And so what happens will the evidence show right before he gets charged? Again, timing is everything. Dr. Smock is engaged by the state and he issues a report. As you listen to the testimony of Dr. Smock, I ask you, members of the juries, to consider three things. First of all, what he relied upon in determining his conclusions. His field of expertise and the opinions that he can and cannot render. Because members of the jury, I heard the state in their opening say, quote, and then please always trust your notes over mine. Dr. Smock will tell you the cause of death was manual strangulation. I ask you, members of the jury, to wait until Dr. Smock's testimony, because the judge will tell you that's what jurors have to do, is to be open-minded and wait till you hear all the evidence. Dr. Smock himself, under oath, will have to agree and will agree that he is actually not allowed to offer any opinions with respect to manner and cause of death. Only a medical examiner is allowed to do that. And the evidence will show that the medical examiner in this case, the doctor that actually performed the autopsy on Emily Noble's remains, that the only cause of death that that medical examiner found is that injuries to the head and neck caused her death. Injuries, right? Head and neck caused her death. Now, that's what the evidence won't show. And why I led my opening with, why doesn't the state's case make sense? And while it's not my usual practice, this case is unusual in many ways. And so I will, my opening statement, tell the jury, you, each and every one of you, what the defense will put on as evidence. And I say I don't usually do this because I don't have a burden. I, as Matt Moore's attorney, Matt Moore, Alexander Petrella, have to put on nothing. But we will. In fact, we're going to give you 4 experts and lay witnesses. And here's what a brief overview of what our experts will say. First and foremost, we'll call Dr. Bolte. Biomechanics expert, Dr. Bolte is the director at the Ohio State Biomechanics Research Center. He's an expert in the experimental analysis of human injury tolerance and mechanisms under different loading conditions. Here's the value and what you will hear from Dr. Bolte. Undisputed testimony. And it's undisputed because he went to the scene and tested the branch. And he did so at the request of the state of Ohio. And I say this, members of the jury, the evidence will show, again, jury view, when you went down there yesterday and was shown the branch where Emily was found is quite small. Quite small. Dr. Bolte will come in here and say that actually when he went down there, he, as an expert in biomechanics, thought there's no way this branch can hold. But he did 2 different tests. A static test and a dynamic test.
No idea, Josie.
Bolte will tell you that, and this is on video, you will see the videos. You will not have to imagine this. You will see the
I
test.
think he does.
First test is he slowly adds weights, increments of weights to the branch to see if not only will the branch hold, but the rate of deflection of the branch. Static test, branch holds. In fact, the deflection measurement is 2 inches. That's how strong the branch is. Then, after he's tested on the static test, he does a dynamic test. And a dynamic test, the evidence will show, is what happens if someone were to hang themselves and let their weight fall. Could it happen? He takes a crash test dummy, the same weight as Emily Noble, ties a USB cord in the same or similar fashion as Emily tied it around her neck on the 25th of May. It's on video, you will see it. And he takes the crash test dummy and he drops it. That's the branch. Holds her up. We will also give you the testimony of Dr. Heather Garvin, a forensic anthropologist who is board certified. And board certification, the evidence will show, certainly matters. She's one of 100+ individuals in this country who is a board certified forensic anthropologist. And she will talk about what the state said in their opening with respect to the fractures. Most specifically, the state just told you that there's perimortem nasal fractures. Dr. Garvin will say that in her experience, training, and education, that she sees no perimortem nasal fractures. She will also tell you that based on her training, experience, and expertise, that the bilateral fractures that the state just told you about to the greater horns of the hyoid and the bilateral fractures to the superior horns of the hyoid can occur in hangings. Incomplete and complete hangings. Now, members of the jury, you will not hear from Dr. Garvin cause of death because she cannot testify as to cause of death. Again, only a medical examiner can. But she will tell you about mechanisms of injury. We will also give to you the testimony of Matt Curtin. In the state's opening, I wrote down law enforcement attempts to put together a timeline based on the cell data. We will actually give you a computer scientist who is a cybersecurity expert. All he does is look at cell data and computers and peel back the onion to find what's there. Even when the users want to hide anything and everything. That's who Matt Curtin is. And Matt will tell you 3 really important things that, again, show that the state's theories don't make sense. He'll tell you about phone location history for Matt and Emily on May 24th and 25th. He will tell you about patterns of user activity, or more specifically, he will tell you how there are no patterns because there is not enough data. He will also tell you about the user browser history. All this evidence about how Matt is so sophisticated, staging this whole area. What are his browser history searches? What are Emily's browser history searches leading up? Matt will give you that information. But I tell you this now, the evidence will show there is no browser history about how do you kill someone, how do you hang someone, how do you stage a suicide? Nothing. There is some browser history from Emily about going into the woods to find your soul, though. And then in addition, we will also give you Dr. Vidoli, which I talked about from University of Tennessee. Her entire life's work is studying bodies and their rate of decay and decomposition. In addition to experts, we'll give you some lay witnesses. Again, members of the jury, it's not our burden, but nothing could be more important. And so we will give you the cadaver dog handler. She will come in here and testify and tell you where she searched with her dogs. She will tell you what a cadaver dog is trained to do. She will tell you the expertise and certification of her dogs. And she will tell you that they found nothing. We will give you other testimony. We propose members of the jury, but I remind you that we have no burden. And maybe it sounds a bit like a broken record that I say that, but There is no such thing when it comes to a case like this. The burden is here. It is the highest burden in the land. This is a criminal case. Reasonable doubt is based on reason and common sense. On behalf of Matt Moore and my co-counsel, I am confident that after you have heard all the evidence, that you will render the appropriate verdicts of not guilty. Thank you so much.
Okay. Need to remember 11029. I need to write that down. Okay. That was interesting. I see a lot of Zach here. You can see from what Sarah was typing, there's a lot of Zach here. A lot of stuff that should have been in the Zachariah opening. She's covered, but it wasn't. So let me write this down. Josie, not guilty. But Matthew Moore. So part one, we reached day one up to 1:10:29. But it's a great start. Yeah, no, I got you. But it's such a great start. If Zach had that start, I'm not sure if he caught it or Josie. But let me tell you, she put everything that was going to come out looking bad for Matt. She just pounced on it, bang, bang, bang. Do you know what I mean? If I genuinely think that that approach in Zach's trial would have been much better, outlining everything, everything, even calling out their experts. Oh yeah, the state wanted to use this expert, but oh, hang on, they didn't like what he said or she said, so they're now with us. You know, so much. State's opening was fine. State's opening was good, concise, to the point. State's opening was fine. Um, bit, playing to your heart and stuff like that. And he wasn't strong, but it was good. It was good. She just smashed it. She just and this is what I'm saying. Literally, she's showing roadmaps. She was saying he could have been here because his phone wasn't here. He wasn't here. All these things that literally watching Zach point 2.0, in my opinion, anyway. And when she got that roadmap up, I was just thinking of Jen's roadmap. Showing, well, where was he on camera? No, state can't prove that he was on camera anyway here. They say he got home in an hour and 5 minutes or whatever it was, but he's nowhere to be seen on any cameras. If he doesn't take that route, he has to take this route. And the fastest he can make is an hour 30 or whatever it is. Just bang, pointing it in, taking away the state's arguments or belittling them straight away. I loved it. Loved it. Very strong opening, defense opening. So, be interested to see it all, But for now, I think she's. And it's hard not to look at this, be so biased and think as that, but I think you do, though. Do you know what I mean? When you see a difference of, this is a much better, this is a well run. Even when the judge had made that decision when the objection came in, no nonsense, just like to the jury, you will. This isn't evidence, blah blah blah, whatever he said. With Richard Schroeder, he'd be going, well, back in 1974, when I was, he'd have gone into stories and stuff, So good. Well, I enjoyed that. First bit. Hopefully, oh Jesus, I'm tired. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it as well. As I say, I want to do a mini series of this so we get going with it. Hopefully, more people come and contribute towards it. To see your thoughts as we go. Sarah had some thoughts along the way. Lou obviously has seen the trial and has thoughts. Apparently, this is one of the best trials you could ever see, in terms of fairness and stuff like that. Erin Hack said that, so I'm looking forward to it. Essentially. So I don't know. Oh, have you got any questions, any comments, anything? Because I'm gonna cut off otherwise. Everyone's quiet. I don't even know who's here. Josie's here. Wendy's listening. Lou's gone. Sarah P's here. Sure, Jodie's still here. Lady Law might still be here. My lovely Lady Law. Love Lady Law. Um, since I know now that Churchill sends trolls my way, I'm always looking at going, oh yeah, how many trolls is here today then? Listening and recording my content. Um, so anyway, no one's chatting, so okay. I know other people are watching the streams as well. I know that um Mo and Baker have got two separate streams going on. I went into both to give a like earlier on. Vices are going through the Johnny Depp stuff at the minute, so I might pop into Vices. Probably won't. I'm yawning all the time here at the minute. Right. Yeah, we're going to finish this one now. As I say, this is just something I wanted to do every Wednesday as a well. The idea is to try and pull everyone in to watch it. If you know one, right? Okay, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Right, it's in your diaries, right? Excuse me, I'm yawning again. Even if I can't make it to all the other streams, oh yeah, I need to remember to try and be there. Make the effort to be there for that because it's only going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hour stream, and we can watch the stream together. That's the idea behind it. Hopefully, people jump on it and start joining us. Especially now, I know that lots of people are saying this is, a great trial, and also that it's a fair trial and the opposite of what normally trials are, what Zach receives and stuff like that. So we'll spread the word. We'll see what happens. But anyway, with that, no one's got anything to say. So next stream is next stream is. Oh, I love that. Some trolls were left. Thank you for that. Is Othel Wallace trial, the man accused of killing Florida police officer. In real life, they're in day 3, but we're going to be on day 2. That is starting at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock, no, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock UK time. I know in the UK, some people can't make it at this time because they're going to get like this one, because they're going to get children and stuff like that. So hopefully they'll be back for the 6 o'clock one, or the 10 o'clock Pacific. Jesus, I need to stop yawning. 10 o'clock Pacific. Oh, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock here. You see, this is why I got. Hang on, this is what we got, right? Sarah's prepared to go on to the next one. Josie's not listening to anything I've said. I love it. No. So the idea is that we just watch an hour and a half, 2 hours every single week. Because some people can't be here all the time. So I want to listen to a bit, finish it. Next week we'll listen to maybe the first witness. We'll do an hour and a half, 2 hours, um, and we'll just do it. You know, yeah. The trouble is, I've got people who say they want to watch it. I've also got people saying don't pay too much because, like in the UK, this is crap time because they're all going to get children and stuff. So it's like I can't win either way really. I'm trying to do with small chunks. That's the only reason. And literally, yeah, I do know, I do get it. I just try to do small chunks. So that if people do miss it or can't do it, they can quickly catch up with it. Because it is hard to catch up with stuff. I know, I know. I would listen to it all, I would listen to it all. Or maybe I'm making a mistake here. I don't know. It's just I'm trying to think of everybody. But because if I started it early, I'd have more from the UK if I started like 11 o'clock in the morning. But that's like 5 o'clock Eastern time, so I can't, you know. Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for, that people come back and, apologies, the time's not great for anybody. It's just, well, I mean, it's better for US people, but um, yeah. So apologies. So we'll be back next week. We'll listen to hopefully a couple of witnesses next week. I mean, this is a total of, I believe, eight days. So next week might even be like 3 hours. I'm not going to cut it or something. It's similar. Oh, actually, it's similar to what Nick does with the Jodi Arias stuff. Essentially, think of it that way. Think what Nick does, and that's basically what I'm trying to do here with this one, because he's been doing Jodi Arias now for however many weeks, half a year, I think. So just to explain that. Right. So with that, I'm back in 2 hours. Yes, in 2 hours, and I'm streaming straight away through for 6 hours for the that trial I just spoke about, Othel Wallace murder trial. So see you all, yeah, for you afternoon, evening to the UK, and morning for those in the Pacific as well, and Josie and stuff. So, okay, everyone, thank you very much. Take care. See you in a bit. Didn't quite go as I wanted today, but we'll improve. We'll improve it. I promise. This is what we do. We try new things. If it doesn't work, yes, you said every Wednesday. Yes. Oh, but you thought I was doing this whole day of it. Fine, fine, fine. No, I mean, crop. Yeah, I mean, I'm just making a mess of this now. So yeah, this is just every Wednesday for a couple of hours. So I'm behind on chat. Hopefully, I'm up to chat now. So if people got criticism on it and in the sense of how we can do it better, please let me know. Please, please, please let me know. I'm happy to listen. If you think we should be doing half a day, as in up to lunch or something, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to please everyone, if you know what I mean. I'd carry on now and watch it because I'm into it now. But I know others, they need to find time to catch up again. So I don't know. I don't know what the best thing to do is with this. So I'm genuinely open to ideas. DM me, speak in chat later on if you think that we should be doing maybe a block of 4 hours or something, or 3 hours or something, and just cutting it. Or let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Okay, people. Love you all. Yeah, we figure out as we go. Yeah, this is what I mean. We figure out to adjust it. I'm happy to adjust it. I'm just trying to please everyone. So, um, but I get the point that people want to, but it's a cliffhanger, isn't it? So, right, catch you all in about 2 hours. Love you. Ta-ra.